Today's episode is brought to you by Patreon. If you're interested in supporting the show, go to patreon.com/JoshuaVelas and become a $2 backer today and get early access to the new episodes. I'll be leaving a link in the description down below, but for now, on to today's episode. You're listening to the Augment Experience podcast. I'm your host, as usual, Joshua Velas. I'm a student, musician, and a gamer at heart. Join me as I sit down every week to talk about all the latest news in the technology, business, and video game world. I hope you guys enjoy. All right, everybody, welcome back to the show. My name is Joshua Velas. I am your host as usual. And obviously, I think as most of y'all know, Happy New Year to everyone. Obviously, today is the first day of the new year. Obviously, starting off 2020, January 1st, obviously the first episode of the new year. Obviously, I hope all of y'all had a great New Year's Eve with your families and friends, whatever y'all did, not my business, but hopefully if you did anything crazy, I hope you were safe. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed your time. Obviously, today is the start of a new year, as I mentioned before. That many things to be grateful for, and we will talk about that later in today's episode, actually, because it's more of a double topic, but I primarily want to focus on the topic that y'all voted on for this week, which we're going to be talking about the upcoming tech in 2020. And this is an interesting one, because it kind of gives you a spoiler of what we're going to be talking throughout the year, like a spoiler. But at the same time, it also gives you guys a heads up to, what to pay attention to, and to get an idea. And primarily what I want to start with is, I'd say the safest place to start at is where we're going to see a good amount of this stuff. Not everything, but where we're going to get a glimpse of where this year is going to go in terms of tech. And that is going to be at CES 2020 from January 7th to January 10th. So for y'all in the audience that actually know what CES is, great. But for those that don't, that's why I'm here. So what is CES? So CES stands for give me one second. CES stands for the Consumer Electronics Show. So every year there's always a show held at the beginning of the year where companies go and show off their newest tech for the year, if you want to call it that. And if you go to the CES website, because it obviously talks about all the topics that are going to be shown off. And there is a good amount of topics this year that they're going to be talking about. And if you notice, some things are going to be lumped into a specific topic. So, we'll go to the list of everything that'll be shown off at CES. So the premier topic that is going to be talked about is 5G. Clearly, going into 2020, 5G is a big discussion. There was definitely big advances in 5G. This of 2019, it's kind of weird to say, last year, especially since that was like a couple hours ago, but 5G will be the premier topic due to all the advancements that was made in 2019. So, and obviously they talk about 5G, they're going to talk about resilience, smart cities, sustainability, entertainment and content, marketing and advertising, self-driving cars and vehicle technology. Obviously, as we get into it, you'll understand why. Cryptocurrency is another topic. Health and wellness is another topic. So accessibility, digital health, fitness and wearables. This is where we're going to see a lot of companies show off their new, smartwatches and everything. We're going to see more stuff regarding the home and, technology inside of the home. So we're going to see family and lifestyle, home entertainment, smart homes, travel and tourism. So we're probably going to see more technology involved, in cahoots with that, if you want to use that word. Immersive entertainment, so VR and obviously AR. So sorry. Yeah, I'm very sorry, guys. I'm also I caught a little bit of a cough. It's kind of screwing with me a little bit, so forgive me in advance because I'm a little bit sick. Obviously there's going to be some stuff for gaming, not too much for gaming, but you get what I mean. Obviously design, sourcing and packaging, artificial intelligence, drones, robotics, esports will actually be there, and sport technology for sports, and then obviously for startups, investors and et cetera, et cetera. So this will definitely be something for a lot of people to keep tabs on if you're interested. I know a lot of the big tech YouTubers are going to CES because it's always the trip that they always do at the beginning of the year is, the first big thing that happens. Obviously, Samsung's, I'm probably going to pronounce this incorrectly, Hyun Suk Kim to deliver a keynote at CES. So obviously, if you guys know who that is, that's one of the, I believe that is the president of Samsung, if I'm correct. Let me fact check that just to be safe. Yes, it is. Yeah, it pretty much is. Yeah, the president of Samsung SD. Yeah. So it'll definitely be really nice to see what is going to happen, and I'm interested. I will definitely be paying attention. I know a lot of my friends like Juan and Hefe. I know Hefe is going for sure. I don't know about Juan, maybe. I know a lot of the big tech YouTubers, like I mentioned, will be going, so it'll definitely be really interesting. But CES is obviously where many people go to get a glimpse of what might happen this year. So we definitely are going to see new wearables, but there's also other topics that might not be shown, which this leads into one of the first things that we're going to talk about, which I'm not going to go into super details because I want to do an episode about it when it's shown off and maybe just do a breakdown because we still don't know everything, even though we technically do, but not exactly everything because we're in a little bit of a stump. So let's explain. As we mentioned, Samsung will be doing a keynote at CES 2020. And obviously, if you all know Samsung's release cycle, that means that the new S line is coming out very, very soon. The S line always starts off at the very beginning of the year. It's usually tied with LG as one of the first phones that drop in the year. And we will be expecting the S11 to be shown off. However, yes, for the past few months, we have seen multiple leaks of the S11. We've seen multiple people showing hands-on, having it in hand, and multiple people, showing off the display and showing off the camera bump, which we will talk about that a little bit. But we are in a rut. Sorry. I'm very sorry, guys. And the reason I say we're in a rut is because of the name. There are rumors going around, especially revolving around Ice Universe. If you guys don't know who Ice Universe is, he's a very credible, or he or she. I don't want to, be I don't want to assume something because I know, 2020, can't do that. So, Ice Universe is mainly focused on Samsung leaks. He does other. Why do I keep saying it? Ice Universe mainly does leaks on Samsung devices, but from occasions, Ice Universe will do leaks on other phones, but Samsung is where he has most of his credibility. We're just going to go with that. Most of his credibility. And from there, he announced that due to being 2020, the year being 2020, they might actually start off the S line with 20, and they'll just skip 11, 12, they'll skip all those years. And I don't know. I think for me that's a little bit of it's kind of weird to go that way, but I get the rationale behind it if you catch my drift. That, obviously, the S line started from 2000, from 10 all the way to that's 10 years. And again, I'm very sorry, guys. This cough is getting on my nerves. I get why they want to start at 20. And also because, it's a good way to differentiate themselves from Apple. Because, as you guys know, iPhone 11, Samsung 11, iPhone 12, Samsung 12, S12. You get what I'm saying? I think it'd be a pretty smart idea. It'd be pretty weird, but the logic makes sense. And obviously the camera bump, a lot of people are kind of a little bit upset because Samsung seems to be going the direction that they're going to do a square bump on the back of their phone, like the same thing with the iPhone and the Pixel. But, it'll be interesting, Either way, I think these phones are going to be definitely great products when they come out. For sure, I think they will be. Because usually the S line always seems to be the most that sticks. I wouldn't say it sticks out, but it's always the one that lasts the most over the Notes, in my opinion. Especially when we compared the S10 Plus to the Note 10 Plus. I personally told people to me the S10 Plus was more of a pickup, because obviously it had the headphone jack, expandable storage, exact same camera sensor, so there was no difference. And but that's what I said. That's my opinion. And from there, obviously we go into, obviously we will be expecting new LG phones, the LG G9, and and obviously later than the V60. I'm assuming, hopefully LG does make the phones this year. I really hope they do. Obviously, we also go into the OnePlus 8 and, presumably the 8 Pro. And, if they go down this direction again, because if we go by last year's logic with the OnePlus 7, the 7 Pro, the 7T, the 7T Pro, there's a lot. That was the first year they had made 4 phones. And it was kind of incredible for OnePlus to do that. Now, granted, it has made the I'd say the buyer or the consumer a little bit confused because there's so many phones out, and I think it'll be crazy to see what happens, but we can expect the OnePlus 8 Pro, or I think there will be a Pro. I don't think they'll make an 8 in the US because that's what they did last year, where the 7 was in every other market and the Pro was only in the US, and obviously the T was everywhere, and the 7T Pro was only, or 7T Pro 5G was only on T-Mobile in the US because 5G. And from there is a rumor going around that OnePlus will be making a folding phone. Now, I can neither confirm nor deny this, but I do believe it might happen, especially because folding phones, I think we will be seeing more of them coming in this next year. Obviously, we have the Moto Razr, so that's definitely, got a lot of people's attentions, So we have that coming. I do expect that we will be seeing more phones adopt this form factor or, innovate a little bit. Obviously, we have the Microsoft, the Microsoft goodies coming, the Duos. So we have those coming. And so I think folding phones or folding technology in general is going to be very interesting to see how it plays out this year, because it obviously wraps around with the smartphones, because smartphones, we will be getting a lot of, I'm hoping we will get a lot of good phones, because 2019 was definitely a great year for smartphones. Is the smartphone market still in decline? Yes, it is. But we did get a lot of good phones and a lot of good products, and I'm excited to see what happens, because it's pretty crazy, bro. It's pretty crazy. I'm excited. And then obviously going from there, we know at the end of the year, especially if we're talking about smartphones, we will be seeing a new iPhone. But not just a new iPhone. We will also be seeing new iPad Pros, because like I mentioned before, the iPad Pros go by a 2-year cycle. And the last time we got an iPad Pro was a 2018 iPad Pro, which is the one that I have right now on me. And it's about time that they are going to upgrade it. Now, granted, we've already seen leaks that they're probably going to do a triple camera bump, the same way how the iPhones currently have them right now. They're going to go in that design language for the iPads. But there's a big difference. Obviously, iPadOS is now out, and it would be out for a year now. Pretty much it will be out for a year. So I'm assuming that's when we'll get our first big update to iPadOS. And that's what we'll start to see the branch off from iOS and iPadOS. That we'll start to see these branch off features and make things exclusive to iPadOS. Especially because keep in mind that the iPad Pro, the 2018 iPad Pro, when they got the iPadOS, it definitely got a good bump into more versatility and utility, because one, that USB-C port could actually be used like a USB-C port. And, the fact that there was Safari was now, an actual browser, and making it so much better. And then adding these features for file management, fixing the Files app. And there will be constantly, because, it's still not perfect, but there still will be improvements that can be made along the way, which is why I say that if they're going to make some big change to iPadOS, it's definitely going to be with the launch of the new iPad Pros. So I'll say this once, and well, I'm not going to say this once. I'll say this throughout the entire year. For people that are looking for a professional tool or just something to, I'd say become more creative with your workflow, I think the iPad Pros are a good direction to go in, especially because now the power is able to compete with good laptops. It's able to compete with pretty high-end laptops now. The fact that they're able to edit and render 4K video without any issue, and, do it at a very quiet, noise profile, and at the same time, not build up so much heat. and it's also very portable. And the fact that iPadOS is now continuing to expand, and, it's going to become its own thing as time goes by, I think you should start considering it. I think now is the time to start considering it, especially because there's going to be more power under the hood, because we know the 2020 iPad Pros are going to be much more powerful than the 2018 version. Like, especially because the 2018 had the A12X, which is the processor inside of the iPhone 11 and 11 Pro. Well, the iPhone XS Max, it's the processor inside those. And obviously this one will probably be running either the A13X, or they're crazy enough and they might put the 14X. Because, Apple always likes to make new silicone every year. From there, I do believe we will see... I don't think we'll see new AirPods, but I think we'll definitely see something interesting, especially with the new iPhones. The new iPhones will be a very interesting thing when we go into them, because this will be the year that I think Apple might actually do 2 release cycles. That they might do one in the spring and one in the fall, especially because they have a lot of phones coming out. The rumor is that Apple was planning on making about 4 to 5 iPhones. I know what you guys are thinking. Wait, what? We're barely dude, we're pushing 3 right now. You mean to tell me they're gonna launch 4 to 5? Yeah. The reason we say that is based on some of the leaks we've been receiving. There seems to be that there will be 4 to 5 iPhones. So obviously there'll be the base model, the iPhone 12. There'll be another version similar to it, and then there'll be the 12 Pro and the 12 Pro Max. But there will also be 5G variants, because like we mentioned last year, Apple couldn't get the 5G modems inside the iPhones due to agreements with Intel, and now they'll be able to do it because of the agreements with Qualcomm. And because of that, I think this will be the year that we start seeing 5G inside of the iPhones, especially because, and we'll get into it later with 5G, that 5G will become more prevalent this year. So now more processors will have it baked in naturally. And from there, we will also be expecting, based on the leaks, like I mentioned, so take this with a grain of salt, that we will see a return of the iPhone SE style. So we're going to see it more updated, an updated SE, maybe not in the same exact form factor like how it was like the tiny iPhone, maybe, who knows. But we will see it like incorporate, the notch, the big bezel, the updated specs inside, and it'll definitely be an affordable iPhone, because a lot of people really miss those form factors of the SE, because to some people they consider that the perfect iPhone because of the form factor, the size, and just having those 4-inch screens is just, for some reason, a lot of people love them. They call them the one-hand phones for a reason, because you could just use one hand, and a lot of people like that. And I think it will be time. I think based on the rumors, I think it will happen. I think for sure we will see an update to the SE. From there, from the Apple news, we go on to another phone that's actually in the budget category. We go into the Pixel 4a and the 4a XL, which these we have already seen leaks and renders already posted, and these are credible sources that we can probably assume that they will be how the phone looks. And obviously we can tell that this phone is going to sell like hotcakes, because if any indication takes place from the Pixel 3 and 3a XL, or 3a and 3a XL, is that these more budget phones that Google makes are what a lot of people like buying, mainly because it gets all the core experiences that people want with a smartphone. Clean software, stock Android, specs that aren't overkill, but does the job, and a great camera. That's what people care about at an affordable price. And it doesn't look ugly. Like, mostly bezel-less, like no big notch, no big cutouts, like just bezel-less, even bezel all the way across. Obviously the hole punch, and the back camera, yes, it will have that little square bump, but it's only one camera, because obviously it makes sense. They want to keep the design language, synced up so that this is part of the Pixel 4 lineup. But overall, I think it's definitely going to sell. Now, one thing I do hope, and this is my hope, and I say this, and I really, really hope this is true, is that Google goes with the Snapdragon 7 series, which are the new 7 series processors, Snapdragon revealed with the 865. And, obviously these are the 765. Let me see, 5G. Because there's 765G and then the 765G 5G. I like saying G because, like obviously 5G or 5G. But we would definitely I really, really hope Google does not cheap out and just goes with this, because it would definitely help a lot. And because obviously much newer silicone inside is definitely going to help for sure. But from there, the next topic we pretty much have that we should take a look at is electric vehicles. And we got a lot, especially because 2019, definitely we got a lot of electric vehicles shown off. We obviously got our first electric Mustang, which I will say that with quotation marks, Mustang. And we also got the Porsche Taycan. We got the reveal of the Rivian. We had the reveal of the Cybertruck. The reveal of the Tesla Roadster. The announcement that there will be a new Model Y coming in 2020, which is the 3-motor Model Y. And obviously the Rivian truck. These are the two confirmed for sure that will come this year, near the end of this year. The rumor is that the Model Y is coming near the end of 2020, and the Rivian truck in theory should be somewhere around mid 2020 or late. And obviously the Tesla Roadster is also announced, but do we honestly believe that Tesla's going to hold the commitment and actually make this thing come out on time? Probably not. Tesla does not have the best track record for maintaining deadlines, but we can be optimistic. We can only hope that it hopefully comes out on time. We hope, but I'm not going to bet on it. And, we'll see, we'll see. But at the same time, I think we also will see more companies. And I think this will also be shown off at CES, that we'll see more companies investing into electric vehicles, because now they know it is profitable. They know people are interested. And I think it will be interesting to see what companies do this year. Do I think Ford will be crazy enough and make an electric truck come out this year? Maybe. Because remember, we did talk about when we did the Rivian episode last year. It's still weird to say that Ford had partnered with Rivian to make an electric truck. So who knows? I think Chevy might start taking a swing at it, and we'll see what people do. And from there, we can move on to PC parts a little bit right now. And this will be really nice to see what happens with PC parts, because with PC parts, do I expect that there will be an AMD 4000 series? Yes, I do believe it will see a Ryzen 4000 series. Obviously, Intel will be making their new processors. We'll see how Intel responds after last year with basically them getting chewed out by AMD. I'm not going to sugarcoat this. I'm sorry. I love Intel, but at the same time, AMD took Intel's lunch money and chewed them out and ripped them a new one. Clearly they did, because right now AMD is at the forefront of what people want in their computers right now. But we also have to talk about NVIDIA. And NVIDIA is in a very interesting spot because, yes, NVIDIA still has more supported cards, and most people like using NVIDIA graphics cards more than AMD cards. The AMD 5700 XT series was a really great card that competed. It outperformed the 2060 Super and actually traded blows with the 2070 Super at the price of a 2060 Super. So, NVIDIA is definitely looking at what they're going to do. Do I believe that there will be a 3000 series? Because there's a lot of rumors going around saying that why do I keep saying Intel? NVIDIA is going to jump the gun and launch the 3000 series. I personally do not believe this is going to happen. Mainly because, we just barely got these cards, bro. Come on. These cards are barely going to be the 2000 series is barely going to be 2 years old, and we're already going to get new cards. Do I think it's going to happen? Maybe. I'd say maybe. I'd take it with a grain of salt, but, it might happen. And obviously AMD is still going to be pushing. They're still going to be pushing. They're going to make new cards. Do I think they're going to make a car that compete with a lot of people have asked me, do I think they're going to make a car that's going to compete with a 1030s and stuff like that? Realistically, not. I don't think they will. It makes no sense. And it'll be interesting to see what AMD does. Do I think they'll finally make a high-end option to compete with NVIDIA in the 2080? Well, 2080 Ti, 2080 Super, etc. Maybe. I think they might. And it'll be interesting to see how, because I think that's the only market AMD still hasn't been able to touch NVIDIA is the high end. Because the high end has always been uncontested. It always has been. Because, well, NVIDIA makes high-end cards. Like, they make beast of cards. Like, when they make a top-tier card and they pay top dollar, yeah, they're gonna charge you top dollar because they know they don't have competition. And it'll be interesting to see what happens, Do I think we'll see a response from AMD for the high-end? Maybe. Who knows? Definitely Threadripper is doing better than the, Intel's offering. So, we'll see what happens there. But... And lastly, if I'm correct, the last topic really is going to be 5G and the expansion of 5G. And I think this will be very interesting to see how companies go about this because, as we already mentioned, and as most of us are aware of, that 5G is now has already become more active in the US now, especially with T-Mobile launching their version of 5G and then AT&T launching 5G-E and then, Verizon working with millimeter waves to make their 5G. And I think the easiest way to describe it, there's also a video that when we talk about 5G later on that we'll post in the description. That's one of the best breakdowns I've ever heard about 5G. And there's multiple, I think the easiest way to describe it is that there's multiple flavors of 5G because every company has a different flavor that they're working with, or they're working with a different band of 5G. Obviously, as we mentioned, Verizon's working with the millimeter wave, so it's more, you definitely get faster speeds, faster upload, faster download, but at the cost of not being able to go through buildings, and you have to be in a very specific spot and not even move. And obviously, T-Mobile's working with a lower band of 5G that it's able to get good speeds, but, still not the blazing fast, but it's more accessible. And obviously, 5G-E from AT&T definitely needs to evolve because that's not 5G. That's just 4G, a more advanced version of 4G. But as I mentioned, as evolution, that means it should evolve eventually into actual 5G. And I know companies definitely will be expanding on 5G more. There will be more resources pumped into it this year and more development. And as more companies decide to, I'd say, place 5G modems inside their phones and sell them with 5G modems, then we'll definitely see a bigger expansion and more people wanting to switch. Now, granted, I do believe that with 5G, the whole battery issues that a lot of people are reporting, especially with the 7T Pro 5G, the McLaren edition, that a lot of people are noting that battery life with 5G enabled definitely takes a massive hit because the phone dies incredibly quickly with 5G. So I think those will be some of the concerns they'll be working on, is working on the battery life optimizations with 5G and just working through it. But overall, those are mainly all the topics we have. And I want to go into a little bit of a channel update because we do have time. And I want to take a little bit of time just to, talk about the channel. Well, I'd say the show, really. And I just want to take this time to thank you guys so much for everything. This has been an incredible year. Not incredible year, I'd say. Like, this past year has been incredible. And I'm incredibly grateful. Like, I'm literally looking at the stats of the show now. We ended off the year with 421 total plays. This is from every platform. This isn't just Spotify or YouTube. Like, this is everything. We had 421 total plays. We had 759 total downloads. You guys are crazy. I love you guys so much. And if we go by Spotify, we see that there are a good amount of listeners and followers. Obviously, I think in terms of listeners, we're already either over 200 or pushing 200 right now. I'm not able to accurately see that, but it's crazy, man. Like, I'm grateful for all of y'all and all the support and all the love. Like, I thank you guys for putting up with me for an entire year just doing this show. And keep in mind, we're still not at the 1 year anniversary yet. The 1 year anniversary is actually in 10 days. So we'll definitely be preparing for the 1 year anniversary of the show and getting everything ready, because it's going to be a blast, y'all. And I'm excited to see what the future holds. I'm excited to see how this new year plays out for us in the show. And, just for all the love, even in my personal life, like, thank you guys so much for all the support and all the messages of reaching out to me and everything. Because you guys know that, I'm just a very social person. I always like to, be real with y'all. I always like to share my experiences with y'all and what I've learned. And, just share with y'all, what I love doing, and it's just doing this. It's just so fun. And I can only imagine what the future holds. But in terms of a channel update, yes, the uploads will stay the same Wednesdays, and, twice a month we'll hopefully get a Friday episode going for y'all. Obviously stay tuned for the 1 year special, because it's definitely going to be fun. We're going to be preparing for that and see what we're going to do. I'm incredibly grateful for all the people that have gotten to interview on this show, whether it be from Mr. Burgess and Dr. Hamilton to, Juan and Ejefe and Get Flanked. My friends Cameron and Gilberto and Ryan, having them on, and just, it's been a blast. And I'm just eternally grateful for all the love and support that you guys have given me this past year. And let's see if we can double that. Let's see if that's 759 total downloads. Let's see if we can double that, or even go even further than that this year, And obviously, thank you guys for my Patreon backers. Thank you guys so much for your support. I really appreciate it. Obviously, I really hope we can keep growing the Patreon page, because that'd be awesome, because it all helps. It all helps me, like, whether it be financially or just, you guys constantly keeping up back and listening and sharing the episodes. It means the world to me. But until next time, guys, I love you guys to death. Happy New Year's to everyone. I hope you guys have a wonderful time with your family. Enjoy this day. Again, thank you guys so much for taking time out of your day and listening to today's episode. It really means a lot to me. But obviously, we start off the new year with a great episode talking about the tech coming in this year, and obviously it gives you a little bit of a heads up of what we're going to be talking about this year, because there's a lot to talk about, and I'm going to make sure I'm going to stay on the pulse, stay on the pulse. But until next time, I love you guys to death, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye, guys.
Hey there. Thank you for listening to today's episode. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for taking time out of your day and listening to today's episode. If you're interested in supporting the show, whether it be financially, clicking the follow button, or just sharing the episode, it all works for me, guys. Thank you guys so much for your time, and I love you guys to death.